While I was reading Democracy in America, I thought of another piece of writing on the history of this land, namely, The Significance of the Frontier in American History by Frederick Jackson Turner. The three names show that not only serial murderers are so called. We can toss a Harvard prof in with that illustrious bunch. At one time, the history of America, how it was founded, what it became, was set in stone beginning with Plymouth Rock. The first settlers on the shore made the mold for that emerging nation, and it imbued it with their character. After that, it only grew, it didn't change. The big eastern cities, New York, Boston, Philadelphia, were the be-all and end-all when it came to the formation of the United States. They laid the foundation, they fought the Revolution, they wrote the Constitution, and the rest of the states followed their lead in lockstep. That's what everyone wanted to think anyway. History always centers around you, doesn't it? No. The evolution of America indicated that there were other forces at work. History was just waiting for someone to come along and say, no, this is not the case, it's more complicated than that. America has a history unlike any found in Europe, and that someone was Frederick Jackson Turner. The shot he fired was an essay entitled The Significance of the Frontier in American History. It's a brilliant idea, cobbled into a fairly brief essay, with enormous impact and even greater implications. Frederick Jackson Turner wrote many more essays and books related to this subject, expanding and exploring it, but this little fragment contains the seed for all the rest. Turner, if I may call him that, wrote, American social development has been continually beginning over again on the frontier. This perpetual rebirth, the fluidity of American life, the expansion westward with its new opportunities, its continuous touch with the simplicity of primitive society, furnish the forces dominating the American character. The true point of view in the history of this nation is not the Atlantic coast. It is the Great West. Free land fueled the expansion, an irresistible lure. Nothing like it had ever been seen before. The Eastern powers attempted to regulate it, but they could not. New immigrants poured into the land and found work, digging canals and laying track for the railroads. And in this way, in the melting pot, they became Americans. In the crucible of the frontier, Turner wrote, the immigrants were Americanized, liberated, and fused into a mixed race, English in neither nationality nor characteristics. People went west in search of a new start, a better life. The first thing they had to do was displace the Indians, which they did by murder and by law. First, the disintegrating forces of civilization enter the wilderness, is the way Turner put it. The pioneers are followed by the settlers and the men of capital and enterprise, wave after wave. Turner calls the trader who goes out and finds fur or food or salt or some precious commodity which he can exchange for coin, the pathfinder of civilization. Those who went west had to fight to survive. The frontier offered military training and promoted stalwart and rugged qualities, strength and endurance, which became the bedrock of the nation. The frontier is productive of individualism, Turner wrote, and this leads ultimately toward democracy as the only acceptable form of government. Those frontiersmen remained an ornery bunch, resisting the control of authority, rejecting the rule of law, and living in a wildcat economy which caused many financial maladies. Their remnants today have the least patience and trust in government. Turner's essay attempted to establish the frontier, sprawling as it is, as the genesis of America. But it begins and ends with the acknowledgement that the era of the frontier, the time of continual development, the sense that the nation was a work in progress, unfinished, and that every citizen was part of that progress, everything dynamic, all of that was over. 4 centuries from the discovery of America, 100 years of life under the Constitution, the frontier has gone, and with its going has closed the first period of American history. Turner told us the primary importance of the frontier in making us into what we are, and the fact that it was gone, all in the same stroke.